All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nation newspaper. The major story here says, Tinubu, why Supreme Court can't admit Atiku's Chicago State University evidence. President files reply to ex-VP's bid. BBC insists CSU certificate not forged. You find that story on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Another story here at the down corner, U.S. to avert escalation of Israel-Hamas war. U.S. to avert escalation of Israel-Hamas war. The death toll keeps rising on a daily basis, and there has been calls for intervention in this offensive between Israel and Hamas. Another story here where Boakai neck and neck in Liberia poll. Where Judge Boakai neck and neck in Liberia poll. An interesting development coming out of the Liberia presidential election that took place last week. All right, another story here. 30 drowned, 167 missing in Congo boat accident. 30 drowned, 167 missing in Congo boat accident. A really sad development there. At the top corner, we have economy takes center stage as Federal Executive Council meets today, which will be presided over by the president. Economy takes center stage as the Federal Executive Council meets today, and it will be presided over by the president. And another story here, it's time to fix Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, says Akpabio. The Senate president is speaking with regards to the state of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, which is said to be in a deplorable state. Now, Nigerian equities post third highest global returns. Experts to examine economy at editor's annual confab. All right, you find all the details of these stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And quickly, still on the front page of the Nation newspaper, IMF backs bid to cut inflation, ease debt burden by countries. We are mediating between creditors, debtor nations, says fund president. All right, we'll move now to the front page of the Blueprint. And we still have the certificate controversy as the major headline here. Tinubu fights back, alleges forgery against Atiku. Says the ex-vice president's school certificates bear Kojoli Siddiq. And the ex-vice president replies saying, don't drag me into forgery arena. Don't drag me into forgery arena, Atiku replies. And at the down corner here, solid minerals will become Nigeria's biggest revenue hub. Dele Alake, the minister, is speaking. Obari Gomba's great cuts him $100,000 NLNG prize for literature. Israel-Hamas conflict pushes crude oil price above $90 per barrel. And at the downstrip here, $1.5 billion World Bank loan, refocus fiscal policy, mobilize domestic revenue. Experts tell federal government wants against taking Nigeria to Buhari era. And another story here, rejects social media regulation bills, Arab tells Fabio Abbas. EFCC arraigns Mama Boko Haram, two others, for 150 million naira fraud. Ijaw Youth Law Tinubu NNPC on Tentita pipeline contract renewal. And editors confirm Tinubu to declare event open, expert interrogate nation's economy. All right, you find all the details of these stories on the front page of the Blueprint. We'll move now to the front page of the First News newspaper. And the major story here says, reps open up on alleged 200 million naira bulletproof SUVs for lawmakers. And they say media reports on cost exaggerated. Members to get cars soon. Vehicles not for personal use must be returned at expiration of tenure. Spokesman is saying that. And then the Chicago certificate saga, again, Atiku Knox Tinubu says president lied about his life, change of name, well documented. Another story down the strip here, NDLEA arrests two wanted drug barons with $4.8 million fake currencies. Insecurity, Benue governor, the opposition party trade words over killing. And another story at the top corner, still looking at the certificate saga, why Supreme Court can't accept Atiku's fresh evidence. The president is speaking. And at the top here again, Ogun government PDP bicker over distribution of palliatives. Ohanaeze Ndigbo to meet Tinubu over Nnamdi Kanu. They are hoping that before the end of the year, Nnamdi Kanu will be released. And another story, Tinubu has been fair to all regions. Arthur Eze is speaking. I was stuck on Ogunbad roads for hours. That's the Senate President Godswill Akpabio speaking, and he is saying something has to be done. There has to be repairs done on the Abeokuta-Lagos Expressway. We move now to the Abuja Inquirer. The major story says why accepted to work for APC. Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, is speaking. And he says, I have President's mandate to step on toes. Interesting. Now, another story at the top corner. Wike sets up JTF to end one chance in Abuja. And there has been stories about the one chance operators. And this is generating concerns, especially after one person died recently as a result of falling victim of this one chance operators in the Federal Capital Territory. And we move again to this other story. FCTA to digitize operations, urge staff to embrace IT skills. NECO withholds results of candidates from indebted states. A sad development there, hoping that the relevant states will do the needful. All right, no warning before next strike, Labour tells federal government. Okay, right, Labour is beginning to talk tough again. And now illicit drugs, district head backs 5 years jail term. Fugitive barons arrested in Abuja, Lagos. All right, to another story, the leadership newspaper now. The major story, election petitions. Appeal court transfers cases to Abuja, Lagos as APC, PDP, Labour Party protest interference. Cases in 19 northern states taking to FCT. Appeals in 17 southern states moved to Lagos. And the story here, another story here, Cardoso may abandon anchor borrowers, e-Naira currency redesign. $500 million World Bank loan, meter manufacturers move to stop TCN. Israel advances towards Gaza City, asks residents to leave. Tinubu to declare editors' confab open in EU. Atiku defense name change from Siddiq. Northern governors Akpabio Barrow condole with Lawan over mother's death. And at the top corner, Zamfara abducted corps members spend 59 days in captivity. NEMA clarifies flood alert, insists data shows possible flooding. All the details of these stories on the front page of the leadership newspaper. We move to the front page of the Daily Trust. Boko Haram attacks escalate in Borno. 252 persons killed in August. The report is saying this. Attacks heightened after repentant terrorists returned to bush. Goza Emir is speaking. Defense headquarters plans review of operations. And Liberia's election, ECOWAS warns against premature declarations of victory. Northern leaders raise over 2 billion naira for reconstruction of Zaria collapsed mosque. Tinubu convenes Federal Executive Council meeting today, 49 days after inaugural meeting. And at the top corner, we have under PDP APC bicker over Akeredolu's whereabouts. Nigeria exports 146.1 billion naira worth of raw cashew in 6 months. Gaza invasion could lead to genocide, Arab League, AU are speaking. And to this Nigeria newspaper, passport racketeering thrives, Mass Minister Tunji Ojo's intervention. Nigerians in Italy, Germany, US pay $400 and 1,200 euros as bribes. Then payment of kickbacks continue in Lagos, other states. Immigration denies sharp practices, launches probe into complaints. We will be looking forward to the report coming out of this probe at the end of the day. Now, NDLEA seizes $4.8 million, CFA $57 million suspected fake currencies on Lokoja Abuja Highway. NSITF Reform Committee submits report as Rivers pledges support for ECS. Nigeria's $14.3 billion debt ranks fourth on World Bank's IDA borrowers list. Serap tells Akpabio Abbas to reject bills regulating social media. Tinubu Wike hailed over creation of FCT Civil Service. And to the Daily Times, Jakpa, how we worked outside Nigeria, returned penniless. Some youth are speaking. I'll never go back. Any job in Nigeria better. We escaped death by whiskers. I returned with illness, not money. All right, these are experiences shared by persons who jackpot and returned and are saying that they would prefer any job in Nigeria as against working outside the country. And another story here, alleged billionaire drug baron now in NDLEA net, not arrested suspect offers $3,000 bribe for freedom. Enugu CSOs demand investigation of public officers' NYC certificates reps to ensure FCC equitably spreads federal government's employment. Now, plugging fiscal holes in a choked economy, is Adenia up for it? That's a big question. And the downstrip here by Elsa Kogi Imo polls will reject any results transmission that's not electronic. The PDP is already speaking. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Times, why federal government must slow down borrowing amidst fresh $1.5 billion loan facility. Ranks fourth on World Bank's borrowers list. Ibrahim?
Right. Voice of Liberty is the first with me here, and quite a busy page. No warning before next strike. That's Labour tells federal government. Shetima to represent Tinubu at forum in China. Tinubu to hold effect meeting with ministers today. Borno, Zamfara, NAF airstrikes, kill terrorists, destroy gun trucks. And lower here, we've got Hamas and Israel war. Israel acting beyond scope of self-defense. That's China. Social media, not Nigeria's problem. Reject bill to regulate it. Serap urges National Assembly. 2 months after terrorist attack, flights to resume at Kaduna Airport. That's on the Voice of Liberty. Next is the Guardian newspaper. Firms scale down production, opt for trade over FX. FX income concerns. Firms scale down production, opt for trade over FX, income concerns. You see the infographics here of some of the products that will be affected by the FX challenges, which is forcing manufacturers to adjust business models. Netanyahu adamant vows to demolish Hamas amid global condemnation. Importers groan over 200% surge in duty amid Naira fluctuation. Hill environment eliminate gas flaring. That's right there on the, that's for the editorial of the Guardian newspaper. Next is the Nature News. Fintiri tasks traditional rulers on climate mitigation as Adamawa Akresol deepens awareness. That's on page 3. Then below the nameplate, Taraba embarks on sensitization and awareness campaign on Jalingo residents on climate change. Akwa Ibom, community threatens legal action against Chinese firm over illegal mining. And below the nameplate, right there on the bottom strip, you see I have 2 estates. Osime reveals retirement plan. You see that on page 21. Nature Care prevents kidney stones with these superfoods. That would be an interesting and informative read on page 15 of the Nature newspaper. The Punch newspaper is next. Federal government may spend 3.27 trillion naira on palliatives, loans. 15 million households to get 1.13 trillion naira for 3 months, 125 billion naira for MSMEs, others. PWDs demand more palliative from Sanwo-Olu. As persons with disabilities are demanding more palliatives from Sanwo-Olu, Kwara IDPs get relief materials. Above the nameplate, Tinubu swears in new ministers as FEC meetings hold today. You see that on page 8. Naira under pressure. Nigeria may seek dollar loan. That's according to the IMF. Fuel imports gulp 843 billion naira. Stakeholders lament inactive refineries. You see that pastor, on the bottom strip, you see pastor, 3 others caught with human skull in Ogun. Editors invite Tinubu to discuss economic crisis at Uyo conference. You see that on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Racing to the next is the national economy. Nigeria's rail sector still yearns for reforms. Profitability 125 years after. And then below here, you see is the National Housing Fund a mirage? You see that on page 21. Digital economy making Nigeria a frontline data center. These are reads for National Economy newspaper today. The West newspaper, Oyebanji proposes 159.5 billion naira budget for 2024, 71.99 for capital expenditure. And here on the ear of the newspaper, Osimhen Iheanacho doubtful for Mozambique. Below the nameplate, international passports, immigration officers in trouble for flouting minister's directives. That's on page 10. Thieves raid palace in Ogun, steal crown, staff of office. Police arrest 3 suspects. That's quite interesting there. Ondo Assembly insists on deputy governor's impeachment. Then here we've got do charms make pennies disappear. You'll find that interesting read with the emerging trend of people lying to steal from people who are accused of stealing their genitals, especially in Abuja and some other states that are really trending now. Daily Independent newspaper is next. Return to manage float way out of Naira crisis. That's experts calling on the presidency there. No law ending H&D, degree holders dichotomy yet. That's the NUC. No law ending H&D, degree holders dichotomy yet. Middle East war could widen beyond Israel. Hamas, U.S. officials warn. Stranded Nigerians in U.S. over non-issuance of passports call on federal government to intervene. Analysts thumb down AMCON's 10 years in aviation industry. You see that on the front page of, and continues on page 29 of the Daily Independent. The penultimate paper with me here is the News Direct. Federal government eyes $1.5 billion World Bank loan to finance budget deficit as minister pledges to respect CBN autonomy, ways and means borrowing limit. That's on page 21. Above the nameplate, it's 100% loyalty to Governor Abiodun or nothing if Ogun must develop, the Basco tells appointees. Osun APC Adeleke fight dirty over federal government's fuel subsidy palliative. That's on page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct. Senate assures Ogun government of support to fix Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. Others. That's on page 23. Wale Edun emerges as chairman of African Governors Forum. FCTA directors hail Tinubu, Wike over creation of Civil Service Commission. You read that on page 21 of the Nigerian News Direct. And last but not least is Business Day newspaper. Nigeria's power dream stuck 10 years after privatization. Nigeria's power dream stuck 10 years after privatization. And we also have Nigeria not in debt distress, but must chase revenue. That's according to the International Monetary Fund. And last headline I'll be taking here is banks lending saw 50% in H1. That's first half of 2023, despite interest rates hike. Banks lending saw 50% in first half of 2023, despite interest rates hike. That's about it on the front pages of the newspapers this morning.
Right. So many stories
Really?
on the papers this morning,
gasping
but
for breath.
would just advise that you pick up anyone that interests you to read through the details of the stories.